I'm Janelle Gan, and this is my architectural design for culminating project. When someone thinks of Kamaning, they're probably brought to that time when they had to run last-minute errands in the public market, or maybe they remember that time when they had to have a suit quickly tailored to fit them. But when I personally think of Kamaning, I am taken back to my childhood years when I would join my mom in her market ventures and get really excited over fabric swatches and handcrafted products. With that being said, I initially chose this as my project location because I believe that the richness of Kamaning's culture is a great juxtaposition to the urban environment that is Metro Manila. So inside this brown border is Barangay Kamaning, located in Quezon City. The site on a macro level is known for its density in commercial, institutional, and residential areas, with a body of water that is the San Juan River that cuts across and a visible lack of open green spaces. There is easy accessibility as well, given that it is bounded by 4 major roads. Zooming into the direct site location, the chosen lot is a 660 square meter corner lot that currently holds a mixed-use building. The reason for this choice is the easy accessibility and exposure and potential program relations to the Kamaning market, which sits directly across the site. Upon initial research on the site, I've taken into account the sun and wind path of the site, which will be of substantial use later on in the design development. As implied, Kamaning Public Market serves as a landmark in the vicinity. Hence, public vehicles such as tricycles and jeepneys often station around this area. This provides easy access to transportation within the site. The site also holds great views and exposure to the market and neighboring structures. It should also be noted that commercial structures directly surrounding the site contribute to the highly dynamic economic activity that occurs within the vicinity. These businesses consist of mainly textile retail stores, tailoring services, wet markets, local craft stores, and more. What is particularly interesting about this site is its context and culture. Through first-hand experience, despite the busy vehicular activity, walking culture is just as present. Grade school students walking to and from the adjacent elementary school, market goers walking past with bags of groceries, street vendors lining the streets. You can imagine how dense the vicinity is. Yet no one is particularly anywhere. Kamaning is sort of that stop-and-go type of place, very fleeting and very busy. Another analysis of this site is that it is known for being one of the well-known capitals for textile products in Metro Manila. Yet as you can see, this is more or less the current state of textile businesses in Kamaning. Cramped, dimly lit spaces. Another analysis comes with the rise of sustainability in the textile industry. One of the factors of the rising environmental crisis that we are currently facing is that of textile waste. Without necessarily going into the statistics of it, it can be said that the industry leaves a heavy negative impact on water pollution, carbon footprint, and landfill dumps. With this, Kamaning, a textile capital, can then be urged to pioneer more eco-friendly textile production and consumption processes in the city. With all these site findings, there is an opportunity to develop a community space that would lead Kamaning to what it may potentially be. As Manuel Quezon had said, this is where I would like to build a real Filipino metropolis. After that short introduction, let me give more context on my chosen plant for this project, Abaca. Abaca, otherwise known as Musa textilis or Manila hemp, is a species of banana native to the Philippines, with fibers that possess exemplary properties that are of great advantage. With its solar resistance, water resistance, tensile strength, buoyancy, flexibility, and other properties, it is not a surprise that it is known for its use in handicrafts such as bags, hats, clothing, and furniture pieces. It is also used for currencies and acoustics. Additionally, it is more prominently known in marine activity. Despite its varying usages, the main producers of Abaca remain to be in the Philippines, with Catanduanes Island being the largest producer in the world. However, despite its contributions to the Philippine economy, the Abaca industry remains to be underdeveloped with a lack of government support and public awareness. For this project, I researched on the planting requirements for Abaca. And based on my findings, it requires an average amount of sunlight and is typically partially shaded. It needs moist and well-drained loamy soil, and as you can see, it also requires adequate space for growth. Abaca is said to be traditionally grown on sloped hills or mountains by volcanic areas, so propagating this plant on an urban scale will surely challenge the existing planting system of the Abaca plant. If you notice, I did add a secondary plant, turmeric. The Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority recommends turmeric as an intercrop for Abaca in order to boost growth rate and lessen risk of plant disease. More importantly, this plant will later on provide advantageous use for organic plant dye and relieving properties. For better context on the program that will be explained later on, here is a quick look at the fiber extraction process of Abaca. This starts with topping the leaves using a sungkit, then tumbling where the pseudostem is cut for fiber extraction. Tuxing is the act of separating the layers of the stem, after which the layers are stripped either by machine or traditional hand stripping. It is then hung and dried out in the sun before it is usually classified, pressed, and bundled for exportation. But why Abaca? I did previously mention that one of the goals of this project is to initiate sustainable textile production. And to achieve this, what more to get inspired by one of the most sustainable systems of production, traditional indigenous textile culture in the Philippines. So in particular, I studied the traditional weaving process of the Tiboli tribe in South Cotabato. So after the fiber extraction process, the fibers are rubbed together until supple. It is then knotted and connected together before dyeing with organic plant dyes. After the dyeing process, the fibers are rinsed under running water, usually in streams, and finally, these threads are woven using a backstrap loom, usually rhythmically. After the fabric is produced, it is beaten and burnished to finish. Weaving is a dominant activity within this tribe, hence the culture that goes along with it is sacred. Tiboli women give very high regards to the Abaca plant and usually practice abstinence and rest to prepare themselves for the weaving act. Not to mention, weaving is also typically done parallel to indigenous dances and festivals for celebration. This indigenous practice will help as a reference in instilling a similar culture in the proposed project, where the Abaca will be given central focus in the structure, textile activities are turned celebratory and communal in nature, and weavers and tailors are provided a suitable and habitable living and working environment. The first design development that I came up with is a deconstruction on the sloped cultivation of Abaca. As I previously mentioned, Abaca traditionally grows in sloped environments, so to pay homage to that plus have it enjoy similar benefits while maximizing floor space for other communal activities, this idea was manifested. So here, as you can see, I took reference from paddy terraces and slope planting guidelines. The architecture that came out of this is a terrace viewing deck that overlooks a small open platform and also acts as entrance stairs for visitors. Here is a section cut of one concrete column. The Abaca plant is intercropped with turmeric plants. Like a paddy terrace, the system allows integrated irrigation to flow seamlessly through each connecting terrace balcony. It also is constructed with drainage for resulting sludge. As you can see in the specifications, Abaca is also used as a geotextile filter to regulate water and aggregate flow. While this became the main architectural feature, the DNA of this design development will later on be implemented onto other parts of the structure as well. Another design development utilizes Abaca's sun-resistant properties. These architectural decisions were included wherein Abaca fabric is used mostly as a sun shield for the Abaca plant itself. This is taking into account Abaca's need for partial shade, especially during the hottest hours of the day, of which the sun's light rays are hitting the areas where the seating pit and sewing stations are located. This way, users and farmers can mitigate harsh sun exposure that may harm the plants if needed. Other than sunshade, this Abaca curtain is also creatively used as dividers instead of walls for multifunctional module rooms that may act as either fitting rooms or meeting rooms for scheduled meetings with commoning tailors. These partitions also protect woven Abaca fabrics from exposure and storage. Another design development is this orchestrated weaving system. The rhythm produced by the process of weaving as well as Philippine folk music culture were looked into when designing this mechanism. Many indigenous cultures see music as something that can never be detached from their lives. It is said that these are the Filipinos who live closest to nature. Art, myth, ritual, work, and activities of everyday life are all integrated into one and act as a uniformed whole. Of all Filipino subcultures, indigenous art is the most integrated with everyday life. In a way, this orchestrated system will integrate the fun and interactiveness into the work. So hypothetically, how it works is that from the loom machine, the woven fabric is transported downwards to the fabric storage through an atrium. The system is achieved through fabric roller systems. As the fabric descends, it goes through the finishing processes of beating and burnishing on the balconies. All of this is done in orchestration. From this program or activity, the sound could be immense or very reverberated. With this, the fabrics themselves may mitigate this sound from its extremes due to its sound absorptive qualities. This last design development covers rainwater harvesting and irrigation. Looking into the problem of water pollution and wastage caused by textile production, adopting a rainwater harvesting system will help reduce the water usage for the program. This particular one starts from a water garden in the roof deck. Mainly, this serves as a rinsing area for fibers and fabrics, just like how it's traditionally done. But in other rainy circumstances, water is directed from this area towards a built-in cistern that directs the harvested rainwater towards indoor and outdoor Abaca plants to be irrigated conveniently through exposed architectural yet functional copper pipes. Similarly, this system involves a rainwater catchment funnel that allows rainwater to descend to the main water tank for multiple water uses. With that being said, I present to you my project. HIBLA at HIRANA. HIBLA stands for fiber or strand. Hence, this word encapsulates the symbiosis of Abaca and its fibers to weaving or textile production. From fiber extraction to fabric manufacturing all the way to retail, this structure contains it. HARANA, on the other hand, stands for serenade. This architecture aims to add another dimension to textile production by romanticizing the process in order to entice the Kamaning community to come visit the space to learn about sustainable production while having fun. This serenade is also the project's way of creating a space that gives Kamaning an identity where people gravitate towards for leisure, siesta, and whatnot. Also to provide a more well-curated, holistic living and working environment for Abaca farmers, weavers, and textile retailers alike. The basement was designed exclusively for stay-in weavers and farmers, with sleeping, eating, and living spaces, as well as holds the administrative office. It also holds an indoor pool that acts as an additional feature to give the workers a sense of relaxation after a day's worth of physical work. Turmeric teas and foods are served to help relieve and unwind. As for the ground floor, once the visitor enters the lot, he or she could take the terrace steps to the entrance. Their experience starts with being enveloped by the Abaca plant in either its growth or harvesting process. Depending on the occasion as well, the stage is open as either a harvest sorting area or an open platform for small entertainers. The terrace starts a systematic flow throughout the structure that embarks on the walking culture of the Kamaning people. Once the visitor reaches the second floor, he enters the right wing where Abaca is being tuxied, then continues ascending to the third and fourth floor for fiber stripping and warping of threads. Within the right wing is an open central area where a vertical pulley transports the plant, product, or material from one process to another with convenience. The roof deck contains the dyeing and drying activities of the fiber. It is also a bridging area where visitors can gather and enjoy communal activities such as sitting in the recessed seating pit to rub or knot fibers. Vendors from the market are also encouraged to drop off unsold or waste fruits and vegetables that may be alternatively used as dye. As the user descends the structure through the left wing, he or she is met with the atrium-like space that holds the weaving and sewing stations and beating or burnishing balconies. This perspective is an example of how the program romanticizes the weaving process through the tectonic. On special events, the community comes together to enjoy this sound and visual experience. So as I said, the ideas stem from folk music culture. So as you can see, the beating of the fabric is done similar to that of festival drums and gongs, simultaneously with the looming in order to create this sort of euphoric, polyphonic sound throughout the atrium. Just like festival culture and hints of Tiboli inspiration, the atmosphere that this activity brings, along with the coming together of the Kamuneng community and the super immersive sound, visitors are encouraged to have fun, dance, play, learn the weaving skills by interacting with the senior weavers while absorbing the aura and essence of the space. Lastly, as they reach the ground floor once again, the visitors, whether they be designers or consumers, may purchase ready-made Abaca fabric or clothes, or even schedule a meeting with tailors and seamstresses that are free to work and hold appointments in the structure. It is with hope that they leave the structure enlightened by the idea of sustainability in textile production and consumption through the Abaca plan.